going on, guys? It's Red Bull Tanker, and welcome to another playthrough of my poor man's version of Axis and Allies Global 1914. So there again is my Europe setup, coming down into Africa and then pushing out towards Asia and the Pacific. So some key differences. First off, if you're familiar, and I'll put a link to the Facebook group in the comments here, but if you're familiar with this Facebook group, you'll know that one of the members, Jean-Sebastian Trudel, has been experimenting with a more historical version of the different navies in Europe at the time of World War I. So I am kind of emulating that onto this map, as you can see. And then what I'm doing out here in the Pacific is kind of based on sort of my own research and what I was kind of trying to follow. Another big difference from the last playthrough is that I've now split the British Commonwealth team up. Going back to sort of even the same as Axis and Allies, there's a British Pacific or British Far East Command team, and then there is the Anzacs. So that's another difference from the last game. And then basically there are a couple other slight rule changes, but I'll quickly kind of go over all the rules again, or the additional rules to the original Axis and Allies 1914 rules. So let me just get out my sheet so that way I don't get lost in some of the explanations for this. Okay, so starting off, so Yugoslavia, French West Africa, and French Equatorial Africa will start out the game contested, as obviously the Global 1940 board does not have a Serbia, Togoland, and Cameroon. Those territories don't exist on this map, so that's just why these are going to start out contested. In the case for the Ottoman Empire, this little slice of Greece will be cut off and added to Turkey, so that way Turkey is able to take Bulgaria, like in the 1914 game. It's on you whatever you want to use as a border between the two nations, or however you want to cut that border up. It's up to you. Next, let's see here. As always, naval bases in this game, just like Global 40, naval bases grant you a +1 for all naval units. They do have sea mines. However, say you go into a sea zone, say like 97, that is covered by two sets of, or let's do something better. All right, if the Germans came into 110, there'd be sea mines from this naval base and sea mines from this naval base. Only one of these naval bases would do the sea mine role. Only one, not both. Let's see here next. The United States is able to deploy both in Washington, D.C. and San Francisco. And then obviously with the breakup of the British team, the Far East Command can only build in India, and the Anzacs can only build in Sydney. Next, just like the last game, Novograd or Leningrad is the Russian capital in this game, since St. Petersburg, as it was called back in 1914, St. Petersburg was the capital of Russia and not Moscow. So Leningrad is the Russian capital. I am not going to be playing the Russian Revolution, so we won't have to worry about that. Going back to naval bases, so naval bases and air bases from Global 40 can be built in this game, and they can be built for 12 IPC. Okay, real quick, let me turn my page quick. Oh, dagnabbit. Okay, and with purchasing airfields will grant fighters a +1 movement. This is more just a random event. But at the beginning of the game, you'll roll 1 dice each. One for Japan and one for Italy. On a result of 1, they will join the Central Powers. Now for Japan, that's only because just a way to make the Pacific more of a playing field, since obviously the Germans don't really have much in the way of Pacific possessions. Whereas for Italy, as a lot of people know, Italy did have a treaty or had an alliance with Germany and Austria-Hungary prior to World War I, and then when World War I started, Italy broke the treaty, or broke its alliance with Germany and Austria-Hungary and joined the Allies. But so if a 1 is rolled, Italy will join the Central Powers, just kind of in an alternate history where Italy doesn't break its pact. Another random event. I'll cover this now, but obviously I'll cover it in detail later. On turn 2, the U.S. will roll a dice, and on a result of, on a result of 1, the U.S. may declare war against the Central Powers, and that is in reference to the sinking of the Lusitania in 1915. Obviously, the United States did not go to war in 1915, which is why you have to roll a 1 in order for it to happen. Next random event. Or not random event, but rule. So starting on turn 3, I'm taking this from Global War 1914. But starting on turn 3, which is 1916, Germany, France, and Britain must do 1 round of combat within the within the Western Front. If they do not, from turn 3 onwards, they must do 1 mandatory offensive with at least 4 infantry. If that happens, if a player elects not to do its mandatory offensive, it will subtract 5 IPC during their collect income phase. That's sort of the penalty they have to pay if they don't go forward with their mandatory attack. Also on turn 3, the British will roll a dice at the beginning of their turn, and on a 3 or less, the Easter Rebellion in Ireland will occur. And when that happens, Germany will place 2 infantry into Erie and either take the spot, either take the country, or contest it. Also on turn 3, the United States may go to war in Mexico, as it did in 1916 when it invaded, when General Blackjack Pershing went into Mexico to hunt down Pancho Villa. So the United States may go to war in Mexico on turn 3. Let's see here. Turn 4, 1917. This one also good deals with Mexico. So on turn 4, if the U.S. hasn't conquered all of Mexico yet, the Germans will roll 1 die for the Zimmerman telegram, and on a result of 1, the remaining Mexican territories will revert to Germany. Germany will immediately place 3 infantry and an artillery, and then from then on, Germany will be able to deploy units in Mexico, but that's only if they roll a 1. What else? Also on turn 4, which is 1917, the French will experience the French mutinies. You will roll 1 dice. On a 5 or 6, the mutinies do not happen. On a 4, the mutiny does happen. The French cannot attack in Europe for the turn. They will lose 1 infantry out of their mainland Europe territories, and they will have to pay the 5 IPC penalty for not attacking, and they can only purchase up to 4 units for that turn. Now, if France rolls a 2 or 3, they cannot attack. So they have to pay the 5 IPC penalty for not doing a mandatory offensive. They lose 2 infantry and an artillery in one of their territories, whichever one they hold. And that also includes Holland, Belgium. And then they may only purchase up to 3 units that turn. And then finally, if they roll a 1, France cannot attack for 2 turns, which means total it'll pay 10 IPC for not conducting mandatory offensives. It'll lose 4 infantry and 2 artillery wherever it may choose on the European mainland. And they will only be able to build 2 infantry on turn 4, or they'll only be able to build 2 infantry on turn 4, and then 3 units on turn 5, and then after that they go back to being able to build whatever they want. Next is for unrestricted submarine warfare. The rule is pretty much the same, just that now the Germans can put ships in either 101, or Sea Zone 101, 106, 107, 108, and 109. And that'll affect the unrestricted submarine warfare. Almost done. And that's basically it. And then, yeah, so those are the rules I'm playing with. Unlike last time, though, I'm not going to play as every nation. One, that's just way too many videos, and it does become kind of time-consuming in some aspects. So for this game, I'm going to play as... So for just this playthrough, I'll do overviews when I start sides. Or, yeah. I'll do overviews at the beginning of each video. So for this game, I'm going to do Great Britain, the Commonwealth, and the Anzacs, and the United States. And now, like I said, at the beginning of each turn, I will go over what happened previously before their turn started. Britain, the British, and their minions are pretty much in the middle of the turn. So you'll get to see what happened with... So you'll hear what happened with Austria, Russia, Germany, and France. And then with the United States, you'll find out what basically happens with the Ottomans, Japan, and Italy. All right. Well, that's my introduction. If you guys have questions, leave a comment down below, and I'll do my best to answer them. And hopefully we'll get this started soon. So until then, guys, as always, take care.